I need y'all to listen to me and listen to me carefully. If you have not watched the piano lesson yet, go watch it now. The Piano Lesson is a play by the amazing, legendary playwright August Wilson, who is a Pulitzer Prize winning, prolific writer of many of the amazing plays turned into films that we now know, one of them being Fences, right? I love him so much because he is known for capturing the details of Black culture, especially the spiritual perspective of Black culture. So let's get into the spiritual perspective of the Piano Lesson film that was directed by none other than the great Malcolm Washington. The great Malcolm Washington, who is the son of Queen Mother, Miss Pauletta Washington, and the GOAT actor himself, Denzel Washington. The Piano Lesson film is actually a whole Washington family production. Everybody in the Washington family played a role in the creation of this beautiful film, and it is said to be inspired by the family of Pauletta Washington. Malcolm said he pulled from his own spiritual experiences and life lessons of Miss Pauletta Washington's family. So without further ado, let's get into the spiritual perspective of the Piano Lesson. The film and play, The Piano Lesson, is about the relationship between Bernice, played by Danielle Detweiler, brilliantly played by her, and John David Washington, who plays Boy Willie. Boy Willie and Bernice are brother and sister, and they have this family heirloom, the piano. The piano carries a lot of ancestral energy because their father fought for the piano and was actually burned to unaliving in a boxcar over this piano. Now, the reason this piano is such a spiritual tool is because Bernice was told that when you play the piano, it conjures the ancestral energy. It conjures the energy of the spirits. But Boy Willie wants to sell the piano to get some land. And he believes that if his father knew what he could trade the piano for today, he would have been okay with them selling it. But Bernice ain't willing to let the piano go easy. For her, this is a family heirloom. For her, this is her connection to her ancestors, and she ain't letting it go that easy. And in the piano, the faces of each of their ancestors are carved into the piano. So think about it. This piano carries the spiritual energy of the ancestors, as well as the physical representation of the ancestors. Now, when we think about that on a spiritual level, we know that playing vibration, you could beat a drum, you can ring a bell, you can play a piano. The sound of vibration naturally calls on the ancestors. And to have this piano, which their ancestors fought for, carries the ancestral energy and has their faces carved into it, you can only imagine the spiritual energy that is connected to this piano. And that's why Bernice ain't willing to let it go so easy. Although she doesn't necessarily like to play it because she kind of fears conjuring that ancestral energy, she knows that the power of her ancestors are in it. Therefore, she wants to hold on to it. But Boy Willie said he'll rather get that land because that land means more than just the piano. He feels like that land is a representation of power. That land is a representation of abundance that his father would have really wanted, as opposed to this piano. And it's not a bad thing, y'all. For him, the representation of power, abundance, and freedom lies in the land. At that time, he realizes that it was the piano, and the piano meant a lot. But now, today, it means the land. Another powerful representation of abundance in this film is the watermelon. They intentionally showed Boy Willie and his friend Lyman selling watermelon, which was a form of currency in abundance back in the day. Oftentimes, we hear this stereotype that Black people love chicken and watermelon, but the reason that the watermelon stereotype is connected to Black people is because we were known for being prosperous due to our ability to cultivate, grow, and sell the watermelon. So I love that they showed the watermelon in this film, because think about it, August Wilson's play is 3 hours. They had to cut some things out in order to really be able to have a film that wasn't too long, especially according to today's standards. This film is 2 hours, so they had to cut out an hour worth of material, yet they still chose to intentionally show them selling the watermelon, selling what was once considered abundance by our ancestors, which is a beautiful thing. And on top of that, they showed him salting salting the watermelon as he was selling it to the wifo. They showed him salting that watermelon. And if you are from the South or have family from the South like I do, baby, you know that salt on that watermelon is a thing. My granddaddy would salt his watermelon down. And I used to be like, Granddaddy, why are you putting salt on your watermelon? He like, this is how we used to eat it. It's just little things like this that show the ancestral connection, remembering their stories, venerating them, and how they did things, how they ate things, what they sold, what they grew, what they cultivated, what were their forms and symbols of abundance that represented them back then. And these are things that you can put on your ancestor altar today when you want to venerate your ancestors. And speaking of ancestor veneration, let's get into this scene, this beautiful live juke joint scene where Erykah Badu is playing the queen of the dance hall, okay? The queen of the juke joint. And everybody is coming together and they are vibing and they are thriving and they are dancing and having a good time. Think about this picture, just this shot alone. Doesn't this look like a lot of classic Black paintings that many of us had in our homes that were also featured in beautiful shows like Good Times? Isn't this so reminiscent? So this is a reminder that our ancestors found joy even in stifling times, even in times where they were oppressed. In many ways, we are still oppressed, but they were able to find joy through Black music, through arts, through dancing, and all of that. This is all a part of Black culture. Again, a very intentional shot and choice to keep in the film. Now, of course, we gotta give love, respect, and pay homage to the legend himself, Samuel L. Jackson, who is playing Doker. Doker is the uncle of Boy Willie and Bernice, and he is the one who's trying to keep the peace between the two. Bernice's husband transitioned, and her daughter Maritha moved in with Doker. So he's like the protective uncle, and he stepped in the place of their father when their father transitioned. His whole job is to try to kind of mediate and keep the peace between Boy Willie and Bernice, while also telling the truth about the fact that this piano is valuable, spiritually valuable. It's not just a thing that you go and sell. So he's trying to respect Bo Willie as a man, but also respect the ancestral connection of the piano. And again, speaking of ancestor veneration, there is a scene in the film where Whining Boy, who is an old blues musician who has since stopped playing the piano and singing due to personal reasons, including grief and depression, and Lyman, who is Boy Willie's best friend, along with Boy Willie and Doker, are sitting around the table building, as a lot of our brothers do. They're building and they're talking and expressing and sharing their thoughts and feels, and then they get into that old foot stomping, singing, blues making, ancestral calling, ring, shout, and vibration of song. They get into it. That is ancestor veneration. Now, not only is Bernice upset with Boy Willie for trying to come and snatch this piano to trade it off for some land, but she's also very suspicious, and she thinks that Boy Willie had something to do with the sudden unaliving of Sutter, who is now the head of that white family that took the piano in the first place. He was found drowning in his well. So it's important to note that August Wilson, the playwright of the piano lesson, is known for telling our stories, the stories of Black Americans, in a very beautiful, romantic, but raw, honest, and real way. He has signatures in all of his plays, like Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, like Fences, like the piano lesson, and many, many other works. Jitney is one of my favorite. Something that he does is he weaves African spirituality, traditions brought over by our ancestors from West Africa, and also the Black Christian practices, the church practices that you'll see in the Black church. He incorporates all of that. And let's be clear, Malcolm Washington, the director of the film, used cinematography to highlight a lot of these August Wilson signatures and really drive home some of the main points of this play. I, again, want to give a lot of love to the entire Washington family who all played a pivotal role in the becoming of this film, and especially Queen Mother Pauletta Washington, who inspired the film. This film is dedicated to her. One of the main cinematic, moments for me was when he kept zooming in on Bernice's feet when he introduced her as a character in the beginning of the film. I think it's important to realize, and I think that the reason they did this shot was to show us that this is Bernice's story. The piano lesson is not centered around Boy Willie. The piano lesson is about Bernice. It's about the story of the Black woman who is the matriarch of the family and the journey that she has to go through trying to uphold the entire family, carry the family on her back in a very divine, feminine, nurturing way, but still also has to protect herself, what she values, her ancestral history and stories, including the ancestral heirloom, which is the piano, while still taking care of a child. So she has to be the divine feminine and the divine masculine while also being challenged of her worthiness. So making the cinematic choice to pan in on her feet and allowing us to hear her footsteps as she journeys through the home is a reminder that we are watching the journey of Bernice. We are listening to the story of Bernice. It is always important to understand the Black woman as the foundation of the home and hear her story, hear her footsteps, because we walk in her divine path. And we are reminded that this is Bernice's story when she gives this beautiful monologue that really reminded me of Sojourner Truth's Ain't I a Woman? And she had to really give this monologue because Avery, the pastor, tried to push up on Bernice. And when she told him no, he essentially challenged her worth as a woman based on her ability to have a man. And she was like, why is my worthiness of womanhood, why is my worthiness as a human being based on you? Honey, ain't I a woman? With or without a man, everybody questions Bernice's value, but ain't I a woman? Ain't I worthy? Ain't I capable? Honey, this monologue moment was a reminder that this is Bernice's story. Now let's get into the spirituality, because I know that's what you're here for. First, we got to get into the little yin yang yings that were strategically placed around the house to remind you that, baby, this is a hoodoo home. This is a root working home. First and foremost, did you peep the mini brooms hanging above the sink next to the window? Traditionally in hoodoo culture, in root working culture, brooms were known to keep the haints away. Haints are essentially bad spiritual energies. So the brooms keep the haints away. But wait, there was more haint dispelling little yin yin yings around the house. Did you peep the haint blue doors? Did you peep the haint blue doors? Haint blue is a color that was made from indigo, which was a cash crop that our ancestors were forced to cultivate when they were enslaved. Haint blue was known for keeping the haints away. So a lot of the thresholds, doors, porches, homes as a whole would be painted haint blue in order to keep the haints, the negative spirit energies, away from the home. In the film, the doors, the thresholds, and I think even a wall was painted haint blue. Again, it's the little things you gotta see. Did you peep the bushel of herbs in front of the mirror? See, mirrors are known as spiritual portals. It was quite common to keep a bushel of rosemary or bay leaf or thyme and other protective herbs in front of your mirrors, aka your spiritual portals, in order to mine the energy that is encapsulated, that is enchanted in that mirror. Be mindful of your portals, be mindful of your thresholds. And then another good thing about this is that these bushel of herbs also serve as a smell good, as a potpourri of sorts for the home. You can add rose, you can add lavender, you can add lemon peel, you can add pine in order to bring abundance energy and encapsulate that energy in your mirror as well. So protect your mirror and enchant them with energy of abundance. Now keep in mind, this whole movie is centered around this piano, which is a spiritual portal within itself. The piano is how they connect to and conjure up their ancestors. Why? Because in the piano, their grandfather, Willie Boy, carved the faces of their ancestors in their stories into the piano. On the side of the piano, this is their ancestor jumping the broom, which was a Black traditional way to signify marriage. Another very spiritual thing and Black cultural thing is the fact that Bernice and Willie Boy are named after their ancestors. They're named after their grandparents. Naming your children after ancestors carries a lot of spiritual energy. They carry the energy of those ancestors, carrying on their legacy, but also being protected by their ancestors. The ancestors that they're named after, they usually serve as their spirit guide. So if you are named after an ancestor of yours, trust their spiritual energy is with you. Now keep in mind, the ghost of Sutter is haunting the home that Bernice, Uncle Doker, and now Boy Willie are living in, along with Bernice's daughter, Maritha. Sutter is the head of the white family that took the piano in the first place and did all this foolishness, okay? He was suddenly unalived by drowning in his well. Anytime his spirit shows up, you see a puddle of water. That is significant to the fact that he was unalived by the water. Water plays a huge role in this film. Let's get into that. When Bernice was feeling overwhelmed because of the haunting of the ghost of Sutter, the foolishness that Boy Willie was conjuring up and all of that, trying to sell the piano and all of that, sis was sick and tired of being sick and tired. She drew her a spiritual bath. She drew that water, she lit her candle, she soaked in that water, and she drew her a spiritual bath. And while she was in that spiritual bath, she started reflecting. She started doing somewhat of an ancestor walk per se. And she started reflecting on her time with her husband when they were in the water. Remember, Bernice's husband Crawley was unalived while he was trying to hit a liquid Boy Willie. While she was in that spiritual bath, cleansing herself, cleansing her spiritual energy, she started having flashbacks of herself and Crawley bathing in the river while she was pregnant with their daughter, who is Maritha, that lives in the home with them today. Another beautiful cultural moment is this hot comb moment when Bernice, the mama, is hot combing her baby Maritha's hair, and peep them brooms in the background protecting that home. Another August Wilson signature that I think a lot of people don't often catch is that he often incorporates a character that is on the spectrum of mental wellness, of learning wellness, of ability, right? Sometimes he will have a character who has some type of physical, mental, or learning disability. And he does this in a way that he humanizes them, right? Like Lyman, who was the friend of Boy Willie, who Boy Willie was clearly taking advantage of, who also Whining Boy took advantage of. Lyman just wanted love and companionship like any other human, and he had a little crush on Bernice. In this scene when he kind of shot his shot with Bernice, when he kind of pushed up on Bernice, he did it in a beautiful, authentic, healthy way and respected her no, like any other healthy human. Now, without further ado, let's get into the big Black cultural, spiritual, root-working hoodoo moment of this film, which is when Bernice used that portal, that piano, to conjure up her ancestors and save her family, as Black women often do. Now, remember in part 1 when I told y'all that one of August Wilson's signatures is to show brother circles and sister circles where they sit around and they have beautiful, emotionally intelligent conversations. They unpack their trauma and also break out into spiritual. Remember, I pointed out how Whining Boy is an old blues musician who's known for singing and playing the piano, but he stopped doing it due to grief and depression. Well, baby, Whining Boy was actually one of the first ones to open up that portal. Whining Boy came in the house tipsy, a little more than tipsy, while Bernice and Boy Willie was arguing over the piano. Boy Willie and his friend Lyman was trying to snatch the piano up out of there, and Bernice had to protect her home. She went and grabbed that blicky, okay, and she said, y'all ain't taking nothing out of nowhere. Whining Boy just stumbled up in the house causing a ruckus, and note he said, as long as Bernice is here, I got somewhere to stay, which again emphasizes the fact that the Black woman is the foundation for the home. She is the structure, the nurturing energy, but who was protecting her? Bernice kept asking Doka to get him to leave, and Doka was like, I can't do that. I can't get him to leave. So Bernice had the right to tell people and to allow people to stay in her home, but when asking Boy Willie to get out, she had no power. Again, who protects the Black woman? So Bernice went and got her blicky to stop Boy Willie and Lyman from taking that piano. Whiner Boy stumbled in that house and he got on the piano and started singing. Remember, he had stopped for a while. He starts singing, which opens up that spiritual portal, and then all the things happen. Now, keep in mind, the ghost of Sutter is hunting this home now, and when he shows up, he's leaving puddles of water and calling the name Boy Willie. It is believed that Boy Willie is the one who unalived Sutter, but they're saying it was the ghost of the yellow dog. Now, the ghost of the yellow dog is believed to be the spirit of Bernice's father and the other men who were burned to unaliving in the boxcar. Okay, they believe that that spiritual energy, the ghost of the yellow dog, is the one who's responsible for accidentally unaliving the men who were involved or caused the burning in the first place, including Sutter, which is why Sutter's ghost is coming back. Now, some believe the ghost of the yellow dog is actually Boy Willie. Others believe that the ghost of the yellow dog is actually Doker and Whining Boy, who's doing the work and getting that revenge. But that's neither here nor there. Bernice just knows that she wants this ghost of Sutter out of her home and she wants her peace restored, especially after the ghost showed up to Maritha. Now she calls on Pastor Avery to help get rid of this ghost. Come bless this house, she said. And Pastor Avery started his own black church root working. And as we know, it's a lot of spirituality and root work in the black church. Let's get into it. The first thing he does is he lights a white candle, hands it to Bernice, and tells her, do not let this candle go out. Now, candles are lit for multiple reasons in Hoodoo, in root work, and in the church. Number one, it is a way to honor the spirits, honor the saints, honor the ancestors. Number two, it is a way to light the path between spirit realm and physical realm. Number three, it is also a source of protection, and the fire represents purification, protection, energy, right? So lighting that candle holds a lot of significance. The flame from a candle is also a good way to read whether or not spirit is present and know when spirit has left. When the flame is flickering heavy and moving fast, it is a sign that spirit is present and around and moving. But when that candle is still and calm, it is a sign that peace has been restored. Another thing he did was grab a vial of water. I told y'all water played a significant role in this film. We know holy water, blessed water. Water is known and used as a spiritual tool across many different religions and spiritual practices, but especially in Hoodoo and root work. You put out water for your ancestors to honor them, to give them something to quench them on their journey as a thank you, and to represent the element of water because it is a spiritual tool. It is used for cleansing. He put out that water and was splashing that water to cleanse. Boy Willie also went and grabbed a pot of water to conjure the energy of Sutter himself. This is where he's running off to in this still shot. Now, from the very beginning, Avery knew that he was not equipped to deal with this spiritual energy. He tried. He really tried, but he knew this energy was just too much for him. He ended up not being able to rid the ghost of Sutter, especially after Boy Willie was conjuring him up himself and splashing the water everywhere and saying, come get me, right? So the candle ended up going out. When that candle went out, that was a sign that this is just too much for Avery to handle. And that's when Avery spoke life into Bernice and basically said, Sister Queen, you got this. You could do this. Conjure that spirit. And it's important to note that although Avery pushed up on Bernice and he was trying to get with her and she turned him down, he still reminded her that she has the spiritual power to decree and declare that this piano, this spiritual portal, is used for wellness. So in this moment, he's reminding her yet again, you can do this. You are the root worker, the conjurer. You have the ability to protect your family. You are the power. While Boy Willie was upstairs getting choked out by the ghost of Sutter, Bernice was downstairs and she started playing that piano and conjuring her ancestors. She was saying them by name. Mama Esther, Papa Boy Charles, help me. And she's playing the piano as she's rocking back and forth and chanting and calling their names and conjuring them up, saying, I need you to help me. I need you to help me. I need you to help me. Calling her ancestors one by one. And baby, and they came. Her pantheon of ancestors came. She called them by name and they showed up for her. They started working for her and they protected that home. They got rid of the ghost of Sutter. Boy Willie lived to see another day. And I thought that was so interesting that she conjured that energy, conjured her ancestor energy to protect her home, her baby, and Boy Willie. Even though Boy Willie was doing her wrong and wasn't respecting her, she still held held her brother down like black women often do, okay? Them ancestors came, and to me, this is just a testament that I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. And please note that when all was said and done, that candle relit itself. The ancestors had arrived and peace was restored. I want to remind you that you too can connect with your ancestors. And just like Bernice, you don't need much. She was the chosen one in her family. All she had to do was call their names. She played that piano, that spiritual portal. She dressed in white. She lit her candle. There was water present. And she just spoke their names and they came and they did their job. You come as one, but you stand as 10,000. Your ancestors are there for you too. I told y'all, baby, August Wilson did his big one with the piano lesson, and the Washington family did an excellent job with this film adaptation of it. It's important to note that there are so many beautiful black cultural moments in this movie, so many black spiritual moments in this movie, and so many black woman empowerment moments in this film. Remember, Ntozake Shange said, somebody, anybody, sing a black girl song. This film sings a black girl song. Even in this shot where you have Bernice sitting at the center and her family surrounding her, she was the one who saved her family by conjuring the ancestral energy. And so can you.